Hi guys, welcome back to Race Crate Cards, and today we are going to introduce you to the world of alcohol inks. If you have never tried them, you're missing out on what can be a very inexpensive but beautiful, therapeutic. There's different things that come into playing with alcohol inks, and all of them are fantastic. So, in the world of alcohol inks, there are different products. We're not going into all that today. We are simply going to explore at its most basic, pure alcohol ink. Ranger has got tons of colors. In fact, all of mine are from Ranger. Pinata has a wonderful line of colors. Basically, they are all the same. It just depends on the color that you want to work with. Now, these are not expensive. You can pick these up for isn't $3 to $4 to $5 or $6 each. We're going to get into the substrates that you are going to want to use with your alcohol inks, and I have several to recommend. But first and foremost, what I want to stress to you, do you see these warning labels? Alcohol is a solvent. It is flammable. Do use it in a well-ventilated area, either where you can open a window or you've got the air conditioner or the heat, something, maybe even an additional fan blowing somewhere in the room. You don't want it blowing right on where you're working because it's going to dry your stuff out too quick. But you do want to keep that in mind. If you are sensitive to alcohol, even the smell of just rubbing alcohol, if that is an irritant to you, either don't even delve into the world of alcohol inks or consider investing in a vapor mask. There are different ones out there, and there is one made especially to filter vapors, okay? So, in the world of alcohol inks, when you get ready to start a project, I don't know how well this purple is showing, but do you see that bit of ink, that drop right up there at the top? Sometimes they may stay down toward the base of the nozzle. That's actually keeping air from getting into your bottle. It is perfectly okay to let your bottle sit there uncapped. Alcohol inks are simply a dye in with the solvent. You don't have to shake them up. They could sit there for 6 months and still be good to go when you get ready to use them. What I recommend to keep it very inexpensive, pick out 2 to 3 colors to start. Because if you're not sure if you're going to want to really get into this, don't go hog wild and just buy a bunch of colors and then only to find out, oh, that's not for you. So what I would recommend, and what I started with, I believe I started with a pink, I started with a blue, and I started with a yellow. That was what I started with. And then over time, I would get 1 or 2 here or there. And as you can see, in the world of just alcohol inks, this is it. This is all I have. And I can create so many different colors with just the few I have. But you can absolutely get started with 3 colors. If you understand color theory, you know that you're not going to want to take and start with, say, a purple and a yellow. They complement each other, but they're opposite on the color wheel. You put these two together, you're going to get some muddy tones. That's just how it is in the world of color. That would be true if you were using blending inks for ink blending a background, okay? So you're going to want things that are really close to each other on the alcohol wheel. Maybe you want a green and a yellow and a blue. That would be wonderful. You could start with just those 3 and have some really pretty looks. Okay, now I've been moving my bottles around. I got to get them back where they belonged because I have the lids to each one sitting right behind. Okay, now that that is out of the way, do I recommend you use a straw? No. To move your inks around? No. Alcohol artists do use straws, but they have an ingrained habit of once they finish blowing through that straw onto their ink and their alcohol, they pull back, they turn their head to the side to take a breath of fresh air that does not have the possibility of breathing in fumes. So for someone just starting out, please don't use a straw unless you can discipline yourself well enough and you have plenty of good ventilation. Just don't even go there. Everybody's got straws in their kitchen, I get that. I don't recommend it. What I do recommend is some kind of a little, this one is from, oh goodness, looky there, already. You can wear gloves when you are working with alcohol inks. I don't care. They're alcohol based. I have found that even when it gets on my nail polish, I can take a little alcohol and it just wipes right off. And it's real easy to get off your skin too. It doesn't bother me. If it bothers you, wear gloves. Yeah, not a problem. Tim Holtz makes this wonderful little air blower. It has a big enough nozzle on it that you can really get some air out. However, when you're using this to manipulate your medium, you don't want to, okay, I don't know if you can see it, probably not. I'm not getting it to move the skin on my hand. You're not going for the Olympics here. What you're going to do is just little puffs, little puffs. Can you hear that? As opposed to, now there's some effects that you can achieve by going full bore, but it's not necessary. Just little puffs. I can feel it. I can still feel it. I can still feel it. I'm still feeling it. And look how far away my hand is. So just little gentle squeezes. There are other things, other tools out there that you can use to manipulate your alcohol inks. Today is just the basics. Today is all about being inexpensive so that if you've never tried them, you'll feel a little more confident about maybe trying this out. Now, one of the most famous mediums for using with alcohol inks is Yupo paper. I call it Yupo paper. Everybody does, but it's not paper. This is not like cardstock. It is plastic. Let's see if I can get a sheet out here. Yes, there is one side that has more of a softness to it than the other side. Could you use either or? Yes, you can. You can and get away with it. But there is one side that is really meant for that. And it's not paper. It's plastic. It's non-porous. That is the key. Put this back in here correctly. That is the key to using alcohol inks. You cannot do this on regular cardstock. It has to be a non-porous surface. Okay, one of the other things that they put out, and they put out several. I don't have everything. I don't have the Duralar clear. I don't have the Duralar in the black because I'm just not inclined to invest that much. I'm just not. So then there is also alcohol ink cardstock, and this one is the gloss. And you get 20 pieces. And it definitely on the back feels like cardstock. Like you're not going to see a shimmer or a sheen, but when you turn it over, now you see that glossy coating. Okay, non-porous. The problem with these mediums, I mean, it's not a problem. Maybe I should rephrase that. They're pricey. They're kind of expensive. So let's see what else we can use in the world of alcohol inks, especially if we're wanting to get started, can't really invest a lot of money in it. So one, And here is one I did on Yupo paper. I put on the back of here the colors that I used, and it's straight alcohol today. 91% alcohol is what we're using. There are other things such as alcohol blending solution that you can use. We're not going there today. This is simply the basics. So for this one, I used Glacier and Gumball. Glacier is this blue one right here, and Gumball is this vivid pink. Now, it's dry. It's been dry since I finished it. Could I go back in here and re-manipulate it and change it if there are things about it I don't want? Sure. Because alcohol will always react with alcohol, whether it's wet or dry. So yes, I could go back in here if I wanted to, and I could simply drip on some more alcohol. Let me hold this up, because I know you're seeing. See how that immediately reacted? And depending on what I'm wanting to do, what I'm wanting to manipulate, and again, just little motions. Little motions. Go back the other way. You can end up doing a feathering technique, which I'm not going to try on this piece because I do have quite a bit of alcohol. It's not the best holding it up in the air to try to show you, but if there's something you're not happy with, you can literally put a bunch of alcohol on there and wipe it off and start over, except for Yupo paper. Yupo paper has the tendency to stain. You see how I got that? See how I got those little fingers? You'll either like them or you'll hate them. That's a personal preference. When it comes to alcohol ink, there is no right, there is no wrong. It's what you like. So, yes, and I can let this dry, and a week from now, 6 months from now, I can come back in, I can introduce a new color, put more color of the same in. I can still use this until I'm happy with it. So, just a heads up. But yeah, now Yupo paper does stain, and you'll have a little bit of residual staining if you wiped everything off. So bear that in mind. And like I said, it's kind of pricey. Alright, I went digging through my stuff, and I dug out some window sheet. You see that? Now, I put two colors together that really shouldn't have been put together. I used purple and I used green. In fact, I used moss, which is this one, kind of a sagey looking green, and my purple twilight. So those were the two colors that I mixed together. And I don't know how well you can see how that looks, but let me put it on a piece of white cardstock. Oh, now do you see it? It's kind of got a moody effect. And I didn't blend just too much, because you can tell if you look really close where the purple and the green were really mixing. I was starting to get a little bit of a smoky, cloudy look. And I think it's pretty. I actually like it. What am I going to end up doing with this? I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to die cut out of it or use it on a card. And here's one. I just used one color, and that was Monsoon. Monsoon is kind of a gray-based blue. It's very pretty. And one of the things I suggest you do when you get ready to play with an alcohol ink, take in just that one color and really manipulate it. Sometimes you are going to see different colors start to come out of it. So out of this color, it almost looks like I might have a little bit of glacier in there, or maybe even a hint of turquoise. You have undertones in your alcohol inks, and they will surprise you, and they will show up in beautiful, beautiful ways. All right, so that was Monsoon. Now here's Vellum. Here is a piece of, this was the Vellum that's Stampin' Up. It was selling up until recently. I have Moss, which is this green, Sunshine Yellow, and the Monsoon again. I used those three colors. It may not look like much to you, but let's put that back on that piece of white cardstock. Now do you see how it pops? Without it, with it. So that white background just really lets it shine. Okay, so that was the Vellum. Now, I found a piece. As a matter of fact, I found the pack. I had never cut into it from Stampin' Up. It was 12 by 12 mother of pearl. Why I never used that luscious goodness, I don't know. But I was able to use, can you see the sparkle that's coming through? Isn't that pretty? So on this one, and it was mother of pearl, I used Citrus, which is this one. I got to start putting my colors back before I forget what was where. I used Citrus, which is that pretty yellow-green, and I used Turquoise, and I used Dandelion. I used those three together. I'm just going to go ahead and take this off. Don't need those now. But isn't that pretty? Now, you might be able to see, and I don't know if I can hold this just exactly right. There were a couple of areas where it was just the alcohol, and it kind of bleached it out. It oxidized it and made it whiter than what the mother of pearl background was, and I liked it. I thought it added to it, not took away from it, so I like that. Again, it's a non-porous surface. Some of it leaked up underneath on my glass mat, but it held up really well in my opinion for alcohol inks. Here's a piece of silver metallic. It is not the real shiny, it's the matte silver foil cardstock that Stampin' Up sells. And again, here you can see that little bit of white where the alcohol kind of oxidized it. You're going to get different results depending on what you use. And not every company that makes a silver matte cardstock not every one of them is going to be made with the exact same composition of chemicals and colorants, etc. You understand where I'm coming from? This one just had the Monsoon. That's all I used. But wasn't that pretty? I can see doing maybe like a moody sky for the background. All kinds of ideas came to mind when I saw how this one came out. So yeah, most of us as card makers, we have all this stuff. We have the vellum and the window sheet and the pretty papers. This one is out of that alcohol ink cardstock. Okay, it was this package right here. And I noticed it did seep through to the back, which is not a deal breaker. And on this one, I used, let me get my green back, let me get my yellow back, get my blue back. I used the Moss and the Dandelion, which is a brighter yellow, and Laguna, which is kind of a teal, kind of a turquoise. Okay. It did really well. And again, could I go back in here and manipulate it even though this is all totally dry? Sure I can. Because remember what I told you, solvent reacts with solvent, and you can put that alcohol on there and start manipulating it again until you're happy with it. Don't overthink this. Don't overthink alcohol ink. Every time you go to play, you're going to get something different, something you didn't expect. If you don't go into it with preconceived notions, you will do so much better. Here is one where I used photo paper. This one was the Jet Print brand, high gloss, heavy weight. Now, heavy weight. It's still kind of thin. And again, it kind of came through from the other side. I use pink sherbet, which is this really pale pink. It's kind of a dusty pale pink in my opinion. I would call it a little dusty, along with the purple twilight. And I got this. Isn't that pretty? You see how I got some of that little speckly looks in there? And I'll show you how you can get that. Then I used Kodak photo paper, and it said it was gloss. It looks really matte to me. And do you see where I was picking up tones that I hadn't even dropped in here? All I used on this one was the Monsoon. Again, let me put my alcohol ink back where it goes. And what I did is I dropped the ink before I added alcohol. And immediately it was soaking right in, and I was not able to get those spots to move. Just was not, I mean, it had already soaked in. It was set. You see a little bit of that purple tinge that's coming out of there? Part of that's the ink, but part of that is the finish because it's photo paper. Now, these photo papers are made to go through inkjet printers. So the properties and the way it's sealed on top is totally different than what you really need for alcohol inks. You may have some photo paper laying around, and by all means, just go right ahead and experiment with it. Kind of see what you've got and how it does for you. You can experiment with putting the ink down first and then adding alcohol, or putting the alcohol down first and then adding the ink like I did right here. It did a whole lot better. Still didn't want to move real well for me. That was not a winner. And something else that I found in my stash that, again, I had never, ever used. This is 12 by 12 glimmer paper. Let's see, there was Very Vanilla, Gold, and Evening Evergreen in this pack. How I overlooked it, I don't know. This was my first time to cut into it. I've got this Very Vanilla, and it's a what we call a shimmer or a glimmer paper. I didn't think it did very bad at all. You can see that shimmer still coming through, even where the ink is. It's still letting its presence be known. It softly muted the colors that I used. And I did this was probably the last one I experimented with. Now, let me tell you, even though this is totally dry, and it's not outright sticky, but I can feel like it wants to be sticky. And so I would caution you. Now, I didn't go over it with embossing powder to see if maybe it would finish removing that. And it's not sticky enough where it's going to, raise up and stick to your skin. But I can feel it. So, and there's a little warning there for you on that. Now, you don't have any alcohol inks. Do you have alcohol markers? If you have stamping blends, Ohuhu, Copic, Olo, oh my goodness, there are so many out there. It's alcohol ink. I have watched people on YouTube take the re-inkers, like the Copic alcohol re-inkers, and use those. And they worked wonderfully. So I took a small piece, and these are the colors that I have in this piece. So I used, just in case you have Ohuhu, P1, which is vivid purple, B090, which is pebble blue, B080, which is process blue, and let me turn it around here. My wrist won't go that far. Come here, you. And I used a red purple 1, vivid reddish purple. I used all 4 of those colors, And look how pretty that did. What did I do it on? It's not Yupo. It's not regular cardstock. It's not even photo paper. What I recommend, if you think alcohol ink is going to be for you, let me show it to you. I didn't get a fancy wrapper with it. Oh yeah, remember last week when I was showing y'all my goodies? Well, this is one of them. I paid $4 for this 12 by 12 case at Hobby Lobby. Look how deep that thing is. I can put a lot in there. Off of Amazon for about $17, $18, I got a pack of 25 12 by 12 Grafix. It is a plastic paper. Very inexpensive. It's going to take me a long time to work through all that. In fact, that's what I have laying here. And that is what this is. See how pretty that did? I'm very happy with it. And it is such a money saver. Here's another one I did. I wanted to see what it would look like with earth tones. So I took a piece of that Grafix and I laid down the ink. No, I laid down the alcohol first. And then I went over it with E080, E430, and E310. Because the alcohol was already on there, as I go to scribble on there with my Ohuhu alcohol marker, it was really subdued. It was kind of pastel-y and a little more wispy looking. And I loved it. And I thought, well, what is it going to look like if I put down the marker first and then add the alcohol? So do you see the difference? I've got just a little more something going on here. Again, I thought it was really pretty. Again, that's with that Grafix. All right. Do I have a scrap piece of Grafix laying here? I don't right now. I do have some pre-cut for us to play, just so you can kind of see the magic. I prefer to put my alcohol down first, but experiment and play. This little needle tip bottle, I bought these on Amazon a long time ago. You can still find them. They're uber cheap. I forget now. Okay, so there were 10. It says they were made for acrylic painting. I put Tombow in one of them that had the white cap, and it's really, really hard with that thicker liquid to manipulate it. Like, you've got to work at it. Not the best choice to use and how to use these, but with alcohol, it's wonderful. They are wonderful. And when you're looking, make sure the set you buy have those little funnels. It will just make life so much easier for you, so you're not spilling alcohol everywhere. When it comes to alcohol, I recommend you use at least 91%. You're going to hear a lot of people tell you to use up to 99%. Do you have to have the 99%? It can cost more. It can be harder to find. No, you don't. Can you use 70%? Nah. I mean, it's okay, but you got to understand, the lower the content of alcohol, the more water it has in it. And water and alcohol will not play nice with each other. They just won't. It's totally two different things with their own set of properties. Water is not a solvent. You need a solvent. So start with at least 91%. If you've got a spray bottle laying around, obviously this is a really cheap one that came from Walmart out of the travel section. I don't know what they're offering now. I've had this a long time. You can also save spray bottles that other things have come in and clean them out real well and repurpose them. I've got a couple of bottles here that once upon a time had herbal concoctions in them. And when they got empty, I cleaned them out, and I have 91% alcohol in those. So look around your house. We have a wealth of things that we can use in our crafting. So again, doesn't have to be expensive. I'm going to go ahead and, if you don't understand the color wheel very well, you have your red, your orange, and you kind of get into your pinks and yellows, your greens, your blues, your purples. If you're picking things that are next to each other on the color wheel, you'll do really well. So I'm just splashing down the alcohol, and I'm just going to, whoa, did not mean to do that. Oh my heavens, did not. You don't have to squeeze these. I don't know why I squeezed that one. That's funny. And then just start moving. Start moving it. If you don't have preconceived ideas about what you're going to get, you're going to enjoy the process so much more. And let me tell you, in the world of alcohol inks, there are other products. There are alcohol pearls. There are alcohol mixatives. There are alcohol alloys. They all have their own properties. They are all a learning curve in and each of themselves. And today, I'm just keeping it simple, keeping it straight up. Now, if I give it this, see how I'm starting to get some wavy texture in there? And then I'm going to come back this way. I'm going to go this way, back this way. Now, look what happens if I hit it hard. I remove the ink, but I also got a really cute ripple effect. And then, you could say, well, there's my moon, or there's, a big star poking out from my background. So as you play, experiment. You can take an inexpensive brush. You can definitely, I can feel this is already drying. It's a little wetter down here in the purple. You can take a brush and you can still manipulate it. If it got dry, add some more alcohol. I never get tired of seeing that effect. It's amazing the things that you can do with this. Now, we're card makers, ladies and gentlemen. We can use these as backgrounds. We can die cut from them. I will tell you that is the one downside I have found with the Grafix. That's the one downside I have found. You can die cut with it, but it's not the easiest thing you're ever going to do. I'm going to put some alcohol here and in between and on the back side. That way there, I'm kind of getting around and around. You don't have to go fast. Do slow, fluid motions. There are other tools, other products that you can use with manipulating your alcohol inks. Again, this is simple, basic video where you're not going to invest a lot of money. If you're happy, and even if you're not happy, if you're getting frustrated, please don't do that. Walk away, let it dry, come back and look at it a few hours later, maybe even the next day. I guarantee you when you do that, you're going to go, oh, I did that? Drying it, letting it air dry is going to look different than if you manipulate like a hair dryer, heat tool, anything electric like that. It's just going to look so different. Now, before I started this video, and I'll show you how I kept this from moving here in just a minute, but let me hold this up. See where I was getting the really wispy effects right in there? And still you can see a little bit of where that brush stroke went right in the middle. And then we have some more wispiness over here. I didn't fill in the whole panel because you want some place for your eye to rest. You want a little bit of white space, okay? You do. I'm going to set this over to the side. Hopefully I'll remember to bring that back in the screen. If you have a glass mat that you're working on, to me that is the perfect surface. If you don't have a glass mat, a silicone mat will work. I'm going to take a piece of paper towel, and I want to wipe up anything I have here. It squeaks if you have a glass mat, so I'm being careful not to assault your ears. Oh, sorry. Okay, so here is my piece of Grafix, and I have a spray bottle that I've had water in for forever, and I know it's kind of funny and ironic because it used to have hand sanitizer spray in it, and probably it would make more sense to put the alcohol in that one and the water in this one, but I'm used to this one only having water, so I'm just going to put a little bit on the back, and then I'm going to lay it down on my surface and give it just a second to build that surface tension. And now, oh, see, got alcohol inks on my fingers. See that? Ooh, I got alcohol off of this. So, that's all right. That's okay. We can take that off. All right, but it'll go a long way in helping you keep that together and where it's not moving around on you. Maybe you like real bold colors. I personally am not just a huge fan of red, but again, let's see what we come up with. Red's pretty intense. I'm only going to add one. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to get my sunshine yellow. And I think I'll put 2 or 3 of those down. And what else can we put into the mix? We could put a little bit of gumball. Let's try a drop of that. Let's see what happens as we start to manipulate. Ooh, already, look at that. Do you see that different tonality just in the gumball? Isn't that pretty? It's so pretty. So pretty. Now, if you run out of alcohol, and I do a lot, just add some more. If you get it too watered down, put in more ink. You make it do whatever you want yours to do. I want to blow this back this way, so I'm actually taking my alcohol here to the front, and then as I blow it into the ink, see what's happening there? And I'm going to put some alcohol here. I'm going to blow it toward the ink that I want to manipulate. And really put enough. I'm going to break that up a little bit more. I need some here on this red. And this is why I'm not just a huge fan of the red. Depending, it can kind of look like a crime scene, I guess. I heard Tim Holtz say that one time, and I thought, that's exactly what I think. That's exactly how I was seeing it. I laughed because I thought how funny for two people to think of the same adjectives to describe a color. But yeah, it can look like a crime scene. It just depends on what else you do with it. But I could not do just a straight up alcohol ink with just the red. I don't think. Maybe one day I'll change my mind. Maybe I'll figure out that I haven't given it enough grace. I don't know. And I'm trying to keep myself out of the way so that you can see what is happening here. Now I'm going to put some here. I'm going to blow it this way very gently. And I'm going to come back with it. I'm going this way. And I'm coming back with it. Sometimes I believe humidity, heat, other things can affect the way they work. I think they can. You may think I'm crazy, but you can use the exact same colors on the exact same substrate on 2 different days and get totally different results. Now, I am actually happy with that right there as that is. I'm not going to add any more alcohol or any more ink. I am done with this one. And again, you see how the white space around it gives your eye a place to rest. It allows the colors to stand on their own and they're not fighting for attention. So I hope that kind of makes sense. Put that one to the side. So that was pink, red, and yellow together. Let's see, do I still have some moisture? Not really. There's a little bit. Maybe there's enough. Let me see. Yeah, kinda. Yeah, I think I can get away with that. I think I can. Now, let's put the alcohol down, the alcohol ink down before we add the alcohol. Let's go in a little purple. You don't have to get real happy with this stuff. Let's go in. Let's try some turquoise. Okay, remember, blues and purples are next to each other on the color wheel. And let's just throw in some citrus. Let's see what happens. There's a citrus. Now we can go in with our alcohol inks. Our alcohol, 91%. And just start manipulating. Blow it one way, blow it another. Oh, do you see the tone in there? Isn't that neat? Purple and green, remember, they're pretty much opposite each other on the color wheel, and they're supposed to make mud, but sometimes you don't know until you try and see what you get. Sometimes you just have to break the rules. Because with the alcohol inks, there's not really any rules above, except for the safety rules. I don't want to diminish that safety plays a huge part in this. And put a little bit right here. Did I get it on there? Sometimes I have a hard time seeing how much alcohol I get put down. And I didn't get any over here. Put some more there. Blow it toward that ink. Okay. Still didn't get very much. My word. Now we're cooking. Now we got a little bit going. Do you like the little fingers? Do you not like them? Take them out if you don't like them. I don't mind them. I like having texture. And if you get good at that technique, before you know it, you're going to be painting flowers. All right, let me see where else. And I'm going to bring in some more dandelion up here. We're going to see what we get. As you can tell, there was some alcohol going on right there, which is why it immediately started moving and manipulating. There may be times when you're doing this, you're going to have some areas that look washed out. It's okay. Let's work with that for a minute, kind of see what we can do. Kind of bring it back this way. If your alcohol dries out, you can add more. See what I'm saying about this being an inexpensive? You know what colors you tend to gravitate to? Start with 2 or 3 of those that play nice with each other on the color wheel. And you're just going to be mesmerized. You're going to love this. Now, see, I really put down the alcohol. Now I'm really starting to move all this. Going back. Going back, moving it back. You will get different techniques if you'll do that. You can also, when you have quite a bit, you can give it a little bit harder blast with a little bit more of that alcohol. And I'm going to take a little bit more purple, put right there. You don't know what you're going to get until you do it. If you don't like those, you can get rid of them. You see how this green all of a sudden just intensified? Isn't that amazing? It's like, where'd that come from? Well, we put it in there. Let's put a little bit more in there, see what happens. Even though green and purple aren't supposed to play nice with each other, and yes, I'm getting a few little muddy tones. Is it bad? I don't think so. But again, it just depends on what you're going for. If you don't like it, put the alcohol on there, wipe it off, start over. I'm loving this. Do you see what's going on here? Let me pick this up. So do you see where I'm getting a totally different shade of pinks? I'm getting a little bit of a yellow green over here. I'm getting a really vivid green over here. But look at all that dimension. Isn't that awesome? I like it. I can die cut from it. Not very easy with it being Grafix. And I think I explained that in another video. And you can tell this is really, really wet. Can I come in here and dry this with my embossing tool? I don't recommend it. But I have it right here next to me. And so when you start, if it's really, really wet, you're going to manipulate what you've got on there. And you may lose what you're wanting to keep. Which is why sometimes it is better to just go ahead and walk away, let it naturally dry, or blow it with some more air from your hand blower, okay? Oh my goodness, but I love that, and I love how the swirls took place. I like it. Alcohol inks are all about you doing you. There is no right or wrong as long as you follow the safety precautions that are there for your safety. One of the things I didn't point out, and I need to, you notice all this time I've been letting my alcohol ink sit here without the lids on. When you go to take off the cap, you don't have to shake them. Like I told you at the beginning, you do not have to shake these. It's a dye ink. It's always together. Nothing separates. But can you see that little bit of ink that is right there at the very top? I literally, as I was uncapping them, I watched the process happen. Do you see? Of course, now we've been using on them, but there's a little bit of ink. There's a drop of ink right there up at the tip. It's going to protect what's down here in your bottle. So you're not constantly having to put on the caps, take off the caps. You don't have to with straight up alcohol inks. You don't. I do recommend that you keep the lid for that particular color next to it. You don't want to start mixing colors, even though, you know, chances are it would only be on the outside of the alcohol ink. But yeah, I make sure that I've got my my cap that goes with that particular bottle right there. Alright guys, let's go back and look now. So this was the first one we did, and it was allowed to naturally dry. And you already know I could go back in, add more alcohol. And here was the second one that we did. Does it look different to you now that it's been a few minutes and now you're coming back and looking at it? And then we did this one. And I can just see being able to die cut out some leaves, some different things if I wanted to do that. I can also see coming back in and adding more inks and manipulating that even further. Did I actually do, and I did not, so we're going to let me put this to the side. Let me get a piece of paper towel. I'm going to clean this up because I wanted you to see firsthand when alcohol markers are used. And if that's what you have and that's all that you have, start there. Start with what you've got. Let me take my water. Just a light mist. Don't want it too wet. I'm going to put that down there. Okay. And do I have another piece of this? So I'm going to show you with and without the alcohol first. So we're going to put the alcohol down first, and I'm just squiggling some out there. And I'm going to take, this is BG2, which is called a deep green. And I'm just going to put some here and there. Okay, there's that one. This is Y6, which is lemon yellow. I'm just going to put some of that around. Just, you know, haphazard. Doesn't have to be any certain way. This one is G130, which is acid green. So this is going to be, again, that lemon lime type green. I'm not getting out as much as I want to. I think I got the end kind of wet. I really stuck it in some alcohol. Okay, let's try that. Let's start manipulating it. Kind of seeing what we get. See the little ripples in there? Isn't that pretty? I think that's such a neat effect. I do. I think it's neat. Now I'm going to be a little bit more controlled with where I am putting the alcohol. Sticking mostly with the perimeter so I can work my way in. But guys, you're going to have to leave me comments. You're going to have to let me know, do I go further with these alcohol videos? It's also going to tell me a whole lot when I see how many people view this in the next week. Because if I'm not getting much of a reaction from the YouTube, from card makers in general, I won't do anymore. I won't go any further. I won't go into the alloys or the mixatives or alcohol blending solution, other tools, other things that you can do for effects. Now you can leave these little areas right here. You can leave them. But if you want to try to move those lines or soften them a little bit, you can. Totally up to you. I kind of like them. That's why I'm not trying to work too hard to get rid of them. Alright, that was alcohol markers with the alcohol going down first. Do you see how soft and subtle? Isn't that pretty? I love it. I like it a whole lot. Alright, let me lay this over to the side. I'm going to get one more piece, and this time we are going to go with the alcohol marker straight, and I think I may have enough moisture there. Yeah, that's not moving. Okay, so now you're going to see the difference when you go in. Oh, a whole lot more color is showing up now. Whole lot. Then I'm using the brush end. I have the Honolulu series, and I have brush on one side and I have the bullet on the other side, and that suits me just fine. And we're going to put in some of this really pale green. I may have to add a few swatches of this And it may be the other is so vivid that it just totally gets lost. All right. There we go. Now, I'm going to move these to the side. We're going to bring in our alcohol. I'm just putting little bits here and there. If you're not sure how much alcohol to add, start with just a tiny bit, just a little bit, and work it. If it's not enough, you'll know. You'll figure it out. You'd be surprised how quick your instincts will come into play when you're playing with this, moving it around. But as you can tell, alcohol is a magic sauce. Makes it all interact. Do not forget, you are working with a solvent. Have plenty of good air circulation. My air conditioner has been running the whole time, and I kind of pre-planned that. I turned off my air until it got 2 or 3 degrees above where I normally set it, and then I turned it on right before coming in here, knowing it was going to run a while. So there's a thought, right? There is a thought. I'll put some back here. I want to get some of that yellow and that green. See the teal tones too that are coming out? Aren't they pretty? Look at that. How pretty. That's how you get your wispy look. You go one way and then you bring it back. See how I'm starting to get that wispy effect? That's how they do that. That's how they do that. Now, I don't want this to be totally unblended. And on this particular piece, I'm going to show you another technique you can do to get some neat effects. Put that there. I just want to move that a little bit. I don't like that ring up there all by itself. So we're going to kind of work on that a little bit, kind of bring that out, take it back out, bring it in, take it back out. Still didn't get quite enough. But this is so therapeutic. Oh, it is so much fun. If you're feeling down, if you're stressed about something, play. Just play and enjoy what you're doing and go with the flow. Now, I want this to dry, so at this point, I'm going to do what I don't recommend. And on low, I'm going to bring in my heat embossing tool. Do understand when you use these heat tools, this is plastic. It has its limits as to how much heat it can take. So do keep that in mind. I'm loving the little bitty hints of that really bright, almost like a lime green. Well, it was a lime green. There we go. Alright, I've got that dry. Now, you've not seen me use this, and I do have alcohol in here, and there is more than one way to achieve a splatter effect. I'm going to hold this up, probably a good 10 inches away, and I'm going to give one quick spritz. Do you see the magic? Look at that. Now, if you have a much finer mister of a bottle, it would have been finer. Not pretty? I love it. You can do this in a controlled manner to make very interesting designs. Again, that's something we can explore in a later video. But do you see? Isn't that pretty? You don't like it? Add some alcohol, manipulate it, get rid of it. I like it. Now it's almost looking oceany, like there's air bubbles in the water. Guys, I'm going to shut it off here. There's so much more we could have got into, and I know we have been at this for a hot minute. Do think about this. This is something you can so easily add to your arsenal. Like I said, just take a yellow, take a blue green, or a green to get started, okay? Use your photo paper, use your vellum, use your window sheet, whatever it is you've got. Or if you want to bite the bullet and buy that Grafix, you absolutely can. Now here's using the same colors without using that technique. Remember the one where we put the alcohol down first? Before alcohol and with alcohol. And then we spritzed it once it was done. Sorry. I've been talking this whole hour. Haven't had any water. Hold on. Better. Guys, y'all have a very blessed weekend. Thank you for being here with me today. I hope you learned something. I hope maybe this will give you the courage to go ahead and at least try it. Little alcohol, couple of bottles of ink. What have you got to lose? But anyway, guys, until we meet again, have a blessed weekend. Know you're loved. God is good all the time. Bye.